albums, and then you said about doing a Korn countdown, but
That too.
I'm cool with either.
That's coming up soon. But yeah, we'll do the 5 bands or 5 albums. What ones are essential? 5 albums that are essential for a new metal fan.
Well, I'm going to spoil the Korn thing later on as well then, because Follow the Leader is my number one.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll agree with you there.
Of all album that I ever heard that got me into heavy music. Yeah, so Follow the Leader, definitely by Deftones is my favorite one of theirs. Absolutely just love Deftones to death still, even today. So White Pony of all the Deftones ones. I've been put on the spot now because, yeah, I mean, it depends on new metal albums or just any new metal albums in general.
Well, what would you consider essential, I guess, is the main thing. If you were like...
One of my personal favorites, and I think, yeah, one of my personal favorites, and I think sort of really captured the new metal movement, was Flaws Through the Eyes. I think that was just amazing songwriting, riffs, drum sections, the bass. It was just a brilliant album, which and sort of the peak era of Flaw, mainly because of the lead singer. They could just never get there. Would be a third one. Oh man, amazing when you get put on the spot, isn't it?
Your brain just goes, ugh.
Roaches and the Linkin Parks and stuff. But I will say, actually, I bought it on vinyl the other day, and I actually Satellite.
Oh yeah, POD are on my they're like one of my favorite bands of all time. I just fucking love them. You know, I make no apologies for it.
Yeah, and that's no apology on vinyl with a good sound system. That was just a killer album. I still remember it coming out, sort of rap metal at its finest. I know a lot of people sort of consider them Christian metal.
My POD album that I love was actually the self-titled one. You know, the first one with Jason Truby on guitar. It was I don't know, it was darker and it was heavier. And
because
like it just, I don't know, there was no rapping on it, which was kind of weird for them, but I don't know, there was something about that whole album as a whole that I just loved it start to finish, you know.
Because that was around the year at the time they did the Matrix song, didn't they? Sleeping Awake as well.
Yeah, that was
actually watching the video. I think, to be honest, my main 2 PODs was always the Fundamental Elements of South Town, which was their major label debut, and then Satellite. But the last one was pretty good, actually. Circles, I think.
Oh, that was awesome.
2019.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was a real that was a real return to form, and I saw them live on that tour, and they still had it. They really did still. Yeah. I think it was Alien Ant Farm and someone else was on that.
It was Alien Ant Farm and I can't remember, but it was so good. The whole crowd was into it. What was really cool is that they played Will You off of the self-titled, which is kind of cool. It kind of like legitimizes that era when Marcus wasn't in the band, you know, for me. And it's cool, you know. For like a lot of people you wouldn't do that, you know, returning guitarists, you know. I know.
Yeah. Well, again, though, I think I would imagine that album made them a lot of money. I know that was probably the last sort of decent selling album in terms of before the record industry kind of sort of hit a downslide. But I would imagine it's an album that most of the band are fond of still.
Well, yeah. Then you have Testify after that, which has Goodbye for Now on it. And like that's one of their biggest tracks, and it has Katy Perry on it before she was big.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
So that you consider that one kind of important too. A lot of my favorite POD songs are on that album, you know. So,
I do need to go back for those albums actually, because it is the Fundamental and Satellite that are my main 2 really.
Like, side note, I think the internet has gotten better.
Hopefully.
You know, we're getting into new metal nerd stuff here, but on Testify, there's a song called Mark My Words, and the guitars are tuned really low for it, like A or something, and it's just, oh my god, you know, for POD to go that direction, it's just you're like, nice, that's good.
So, I admire them, and all the bands that always wanted to change the sound. I know a lot of them have got got shit from it for it over the years in terms of, you know, introducing the electronic sounds to the, like Papa Roach and Korn did the electronics and the sound, the synth and everything. But no, at least they was sort of willing to mix it up and, you know, and try something different.
Yeah, I am hoping to get Jason Truby on this podcast. We've been in contact, so I get more of an insider thing for him. But I can only imagine, say, the pressure of doing that first album after the back of Satellite, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it was unstoppable. Yeah. So
for sure. Yeah, for sure. And just while I was thinking of POD, they're talking about the vinyl release. I think I'd go 4 albums. So my 5th one, because that's finally quite surprisingly actually had a vinyl release. Spine Shank, The Height of Callousness. That's my 5th one. That's really another one that I know people love, like Fear Factory and that era of Fear Factory that was kind of classed as industrial metal. But for me, Spine Shank were just like the best industrial metal band.
When like Height of Callousness came out, it was like Digimortal came out. So that would have been like, for me, I think that's one of the weakest Fear Factory albums. So what's better, you know? But no, Height of Callousness is a good pick. I actually haven't listened to that in ages.
Yeah, I'll say I've just had an email yesterday actually to say it's been delayed, but I've pre-ordered the vinyl because I always would have loved that on wax, and I didn't think it would ever happen. But there seems to be a lot of vinyl pressing companies out there now that sort of really going back and doing the new metal.
That's cool.
I've just got music on vinyl. They do a lot of really good ones. I've just got Static X's Start a War. I think they've pressed all of Static X's. So I've got Wisconsin Death Trip. I never got Machine of Shadow Zone, which I really want because they're quite rare now. I think Cold Chamber's being repressed. Some company in America, and I've gutted that I missed this, they actually just recently repressed $3 Bill.
Oh my God.
I would have loved to have got one of those. So that one's classed as unofficial, I think, but apparently from what I've heard from people, the presses sound really good.
That's awesome.
So
like, you're listening to these albums that I haven't listened to in a while, and I'm like, shit, man, I got $3 bill.
Well, I've got a massive new metal mix on my Spotify, which is just not necessarily the big bands. It's because one of the Irish bands, Cyclefly.
Yeah, actually. I know I'm plugging my own show, but I'm talking to the guitarist on this next week.
Yeah, also I'll definitely watch that. I love that. Especially the was it self-titled, the one with no stress on it? I can't remember what
that was Crave.
That's it, yeah. Chester was on there as well from Linkin Park. He was on the
hopefully I'll get that story. Well, I will. I'm not going to let that go by without asking that story, you know. But an interesting fact, the band I'm in now, Mind Riot, their previous album was produced by Cyclefly's guitarist. So so there's like a connection there, you know. That's pretty
awesome. Cool. They was really good. I remember they got on Kerrang with No Stress, the music video, and they had a little bit of exposure, but that seemed to be, they just did those 2 albums, didn't they? And I think that Generation Sap was the first
Generation Sap. I was still in school when that album came out.
And then they didn't seem to do anything else. They never really got to that next level. But they was good.
I think they imploded or something. I know
probably like most.
Yeah, the singer and guitarist are brothers. They still do music occasionally, and the guitarist lives in Germany doing producing. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's mad.
Awesome.
So okay. You've nearly the same top 5 as me. Korn. Okay. Thing is, I would consider Follow the Leader a new metal album, but I don't think I'd class Korn as a new metal album completely because they didn't make it on purpose, you know. So I would have had Follow the Leader, and then Deftones. My favorite Deftones, it's probably self-titled. I don't know. It just after White Pony, they came out. You hear Hexagram, and it's like fuck. They just went so balls out with the album after it with the heaviness, and I love that. You know, and then POD was pretty much any. And then for my 4 is I've talked about this on your newsletter already. Playmo's episode 2, and I fucking love that album. I would say it changed my life. Did you listen to that much?
Yeah, I can't remember if it was you that told me, because I wasn't aware that at the time. The only sort of bands I particularly like that sort of sing in foreign is Rammstein and a couple of Japanese bands. And I didn't actually realise, I think it was you that told me they actually released an English version of that under the Medicine Cake. I've got the English version. And new wave. I just love that just
so
a simple
good.
little synth and everything in the intro. But yeah, they definitely had a good sound as well.
Yeah, like at that time, oh fuck, it's nearly 20 years ago. Yeah, I was a full into death metal at the time. So when I was in Strasbourg and I was in Virgin Megastore looking, and then New Wave came on the TVs there, and I was just like, fuck, because I was done with new metal at the time, and then this just brought me back in. So I got that album and I got everything else that they were related to, and I still listen to it and it's still fresh to me, So after 20 years, I mean, and like I saw them in Paris, I want to say 3-4 years ago. They did a reunion show, and when they did New Wave, they tuned it extra low, so it was the whole place shook. It was fucking awesome, And then like I blagged my way backstage to interview them as well. So
nice.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm officially interviewing. It was for an Irish website, and then for number 5, I'm not sure if I sent you that band. The band called Watcha from France.
Not familiar with those. To be honest.
Take down that name. They have an album called Mutants, and it's, oh my god, I don't even know. It's like a mix of Korn, System of a Down, Static X, Meshuggah, all in one.
Okay.
Oh my god, it's actually just, it's one of my favorite albums. Like the production of it is great, the guitar tone, and like everything about it's amazing. Like they have other albums, but that one is just like them. It's their third album, so they've like honed their craft,
Yeah.
Oh, I can't.
Awesome.
You're so lucky. You haven't heard it yet,
Not yet, no.
So like, the first song, Sam Tree, just play it loud through big speakers, and I'd love to.
Yeah.
I'd love to get you to do a reaction video to it. Not just that first song.
If it's on Spotify, I'll give it a check out for sure.
Oh, it's all on there. Yep, I made sure of it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So another thing we talked about was doing a worst to best Korn album list. Did you finish your list?
Yeah, it's like I said to you the other day. It's probably the main part of it is probably going to change. If I listen to that album, one of the lower ones, so it's fairly fresh in my mind because obviously when I did the Korn book. Unsurprisingly, I listened to every album at the section I was doing it. I was listening to them 2 or 3 times, so it's a little bit more fresh in my mind. All the albums
for the book, is like it's song by song through all the lyrics and stuff. Like
it's well, obviously lyrics are more sort of a copyright thing, so I've done it to sort of show you. So in terms of, it's basically it discusses. I've also sort of made it into a biography as well. So
yeah, that's cool.
So for example, I just turned on the page. So take a look in the mirror. So you get the album information, as the stories behind what Korn was doing in the run up to the album, the studio process, and then each track is track by track. Obviously, some tracks have more content. Looking back now, I mean, I've got the book when I finally got the published copy, and I was sort of happy with it. But I think looking back, it's always a learning curve. My next book coming out is the same series. It's on Tool, and the Tool pieces, because there's so much information in terms of the song structures and everything. Each song's the pieces are so much longer. So could I have gone back? I would have liked to have made some of these tracks, the information longer. So we discussed certain song lyrics, the stories behind the songs, what Jonathan was perhaps going through at the time, and things like that. So in my mind, it could have been better. I've had quite a lot of positive feedback. It's done pretty well in America, I've been told, in terms of sales. It's had 2 or 3 print runs because of demand. But for me personally, I think it could have been better.
Yeah.
There we are.
So it must have been difficult because Korn never print their lyrics, So
no, I mean, you can just go online and you can read them and sort of decipher. It's also put in my own, not necessarily. I mean, some of them are sort of well discussed online and various pages where you do your research. Some of them I'm also sort of putting in my little ideas to them as well, but it's more of a critical analysis of the songs rather than what I'm saying is right, because it's not. It's just my ideas and then my reviews of the songs, and I'm not quite as bias in terms of if they've done a bad song, I do discuss why it's bad, or why it's not as good as their other stuff. Yeah.
So you're doing a Deftones one eventually, though? Yeah.
I'd love to do a Deftones one, but obviously in terms of, it's at the minute I'm sort of going a bit further away from the new metal thing, because as you've probably seen for a few years, I've done the new metal books, I've done Korn. I want to do a little bit of different stuff as well, just to sort of show I'm not necessarily all about new metal.
Yeah.
So that's why the next one's on Tool, and I'm currently writing one on Faith No More as well, because they're another one of my top 3 bands. I actually didn't realize when I started the book that there is an extensive biography already out about them. But this is part of the second series of books that Sonic Bomb published. So it's part of the Decade series. So this is just about Faith No More in the 90s. So that obviously goes into more depth on Angel Dust and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty cool.
But yeah, I've sort of gone hard at it for the last 2 or 3 years. So once I've done the Faith No More one, I'll probably take a short break.
Yeah.
And just chill for a little bit, because I'm one that once that's done, let's do the next one. But every so often my brain gets a bit foggy and I need to take
like a friend of mine just released a book there. It's every movie made out of a video game. He's made a complete encyclopedia.
Wow.
Yeah, Chris, if you're listening, you owe me big time, motherfucker. He goes into detail. Yeah, he goes into detail about every single movie made it. And then I was like, hey, dude, they're doing an Uncharted one. Is that in there? He's like, shut up, man. But it's stuff that you've even forgotten about, And then you're like, oh, I should watch that. And then it's like, no, I'm not watching Street Fighter again. Jesus, no.
So, yeah, that sounds a cool book, though. Fair play to be able to capture all those.
Let me see. Right here.
Nice, video game. Yeah.
So,
awesome.
His next book is Movie Monsters, I think. But he's doing like book after book. I'm like, where do you find the time for all this?
Yeah. See, I have quite an easy job. I just sit in a security gatehouse. I can say this because I know my boss isn't going to watch it. But on nights we're quite quiet, so that's where I'll get a lot of it done. I do a lot of the writing at work, and then when I'm at home, I do the typing up or the research parts. So
that's cool. So we got sidetracked here. So number 14, or on your Korn list.
14 for me. Yeah.
Let's see if it's the same as my list, because I did one too.
Okay. Well, I've gone with the Path of Totality.
Yeah, me too.
I basically put in the book that I think an EP would have been enough for that style that they was going for. I love Narcissistic Cannibal, Get Up, and Way Too Far, but I think they were the only 3 songs that I particularly enjoyed.
Bleeding Out was a pretty good one.
They were the 3 I just wrote down quickly, just thinking off the top of my head in terms of the choruses were the main thing for me.
Like, I don't think it should have been an official, say, Korn canon album. Maybe if it was like a side release or something like that. Instead of like
Yeah, I think they could have got away with, say, maybe a 5 or 6 track EP would have been enough for that. But I appreciate that JD's always been a big electronic fan. And he wanted to do something, but you're very, very rarely able to hear any guitars in there, and the drums just sound like too programmed. And
somebody leaked a mix of Get Up without the dubstep, and you can just hear exactly how little guitars are in that song. I was like, oh no.
There we are. 14 definitely the bottom one for me.
Okay. 13 so
so 13 to 10, so these ones probably would change if I listen to the albums again. I've gone with the Untitled album. Now I did enjoy it again when I was listening to it when I was prepping for the book, and there is some great songs on there. It's pretty much because there is, on every Korn album, there's 3 or 4 real bangers, real killer tunes. But just for the general, I think the experimentation, Starting Over, I thought that was an excellent first track, especially that last half. That was a real reflective. I love that sort of the long play out of that one. there was a couple of songs there which seemed to appear to be a jibe towards Head, obviously finding religion. So yeah, I mean, there was some good ones, but there was some filler as well. So just today, while we're doing this, I've gone with that one.
I put that way higher in my list. I loved it. Sorry.
Yeah.
I remember I was at Download 2007 and they played Evolution off of it, and the album wasn't out. And I was like, oh my God, I can't wait. But they had Joey Jordison on drums.
Yeah.
It was in the tent. Were you there?
I didn't go that year. No, I know a couple of people that did, but I remember he did the film.
Yeah, we're in the tent, and it was Joey Jordison, and I had Clint Lowry on guitar, and it was just so heavy. Oh my God.
Yeah. I think I saw the tour that when they toured that album in Leeds. I saw them with Flyleaf and
Death Stars.
A couple of other Death Stars. That's it. Yeah.
I remember they played Dublin for 2 nights opening that tour. So it was Ray's first show. And there was a bar across the road from the venue called Fibbers. That's where all the metalheads go. And we went after the first show, and some of the band were in there. Ray was in there. Who was the keyboard guy at the time? Zach. And
Zach Baird, yeah.
Yeah. And then their guitarist. What's his name? The guy that died. I can't remember his name.
That died?
Yeah, you know the guy, the fill-in guy, their guitarist. What was his name?
I've probably got his name in the book, but I can't remember.
Yeah, but he was there. I got my photo taken with him and everything, and Ray. And then we got we got them all really drunk, especially Zach. We got him hammered. Oh my God. And then the next night you could see him on stage just sweating. Thing is, we got him drunk, and then we were bringing him to the bar, and he had that pass. It's like, around, and waved that, and we all got free drinks off of him.
Nice. Oh.
Yeah, and then he put us on the guest list for the second night because some of us didn't have
awesome.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. That was
yeah.
But I think awesome. So I met Monkey that night, but I was wearing because we were after Download, I was wearing a Fuck Emos t-shirt, and he took offense to that.
What did it say? Sorry,
the t-shirt said Fuck Emos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he took real offense to it, and I was like,
like, no. Strange.
Yeah, I was okay, whatever, dude. For my 13, I would have put Remember Who You Are.
Okay.
It was just, for me, it was, I know what the intention was, I know what they were trying to do, but it was like, maybe it's the wrong time to work with Ross, because he did a Sepultura album that year, I think, and it was the same. It was like,
yeah,
it just, it didn't have it,
Yeah, but I can mention, because that's actually my number 12.
Okay.
So, I mean, Oildale is actually one of my top 10 Korn songs ever. I mean, when that first came out, I had such high hopes for the album. I just thought that was back to a classic Korn. But for the new metal book, which it was originally for one of the earlier volumes, I actually managed to chat with Ross Robinson for the book. So we talked about various albums that he worked on, and we did talk about Korn 3, and he said it was more to do with or he sort of had to keep apologizing. He in his mind, before they got back in the studio, he still saw Korn as that same band that he worked with in 94 and 96. And he said, when I got in the studio, they was leaving early because they had to go and pick their kids up from school, and it was a whole completely different vibe. And he said he sort of, he was proud of some of the songs. And of course, he got JD back in a dark place to really get the vocals out, which fucked JD up basically, because he sort of got himself in a good place. Then he was returned to it.
Back in there.
But Oildale as a song, I just thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome.
I think Pop a Pill is really good too. That's a good song.
Yeah.
I think maybe if Ross spent time with the band before working on an album, maybe he would have understood who they were at that point in their lives before they go into the studio.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, he seems to have always had a similar way of how he gets the best out of bands. So he's never really, he's quite such a full-on guy, isn't he? So potentially if he'd have known beforehand that he went in with that mind frame of things are going to be different now, they're cleaner musicians, and
they're older.
It could, it didn't work out that way. But I think JD actually said, didn't he, that's one of his biggest regrets was that album and going back to Ross for that one.
Yeah. It sucks that Indigo Ranch burnt down. Like that's like Mecca for me and you. You know, that's our Graceland. You know.
Yeah.
I know. Like,
yeah.
If we go in and we're walking around there and we'll see that sticker on the wall that Monkey put there, we'd be like, oh, look at it.
Yes. Yeah. It did sound like a cool place, because I think they used to go hiking, didn't they, every day? Yeah. Like Ross used to do it to get everybody's mind frame in the right place. And,
that's cool.
And it would have been a nice and interesting setting. And yeah, it would have been. Them walls would have told many a story that's never been publicly revealed.
Especially for that Slipknot album. But one of my guilty pleasure Ross Robinson albums is the Vanilla Ice one. It's actually, I think it's really cool. It's a really cool album.
There was some good stuff on there. Yeah, it was a nice left field turn for him, like, and you know,
I think maybe it was too heavy for Vanilla Ice of all people to sing on, but it's. I actually thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I think I talked to Ross for that one, and he didn't apologize for it.
No,
he said
they're friends.
He was a good musician,
and
good. No, fair play.
And keeping it on Ross, like the Suicide Silence album, actually took me by surprise, because I wasn't the biggest fan of them, and then I heard that album, and I was like, holy shit! It is
that had his stamp all over it. Didn't it? From the very first song.
It did.
Actually, one of the more modern albums that I've heard that Ross did was Touche Amore's last album.
Really?
The melodic hardcore band.
Yeah. He got into
and that is actually that doesn't have his stamp on it as much, but he produced that one, and that was a cool album to hear a different side of him, I guess.
Yeah. He got sick of being typecast, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Because a lot of the stuff he does is indie rock now as well, isn't it? So
yeah. Look, he might go back and do something heavier, but
possibly. There's rumors. I'm sorry to keep butting in, but I think there's rumors, isn't there? There's rumors that he did Still Sucks with Limp Bizkit, isn't there?
Really?
There's rumors that he was the producer, but who knows?
Who knows? Well, that album, they just let it out there. You know, there was no build up, nothing. Here's a Limp Bizkit album 10 years later, you know, and it's really good. It's
yeah, love it. Yeah, I loved it.
You know what's really funny about Limp Bizkit right now? It's not a funny thing, but everybody loves Limp Bizkit now. Yeah, have you noticed that?
Yeah, I always have done, but there was a lot of people that left them behind.
Yeah, people are like, fuck Limp Bizkit. Everyone's like, dude, did you check out the new song? I was like, yeah, man, it's awesome.
I just love them, but yeah. No one's ever had a guitar sound like Wes as well.
No.
It's just such a recognizable, and when the rhythm section and everything is just one of a kind. Yeah, love him still.
You know, Fred's a better singer than people give him credit for, I think.
Definitely.
You know, melodic. 100%. Yeah. And I don't even think he gives himself credit for that half the time.
Possibly not. No. No. The ballads was always Walking Away on the Gold Cobra album.
Oh, rearranged. I love that one.
Yeah, he's I still think he's awesome. It's actually quite funny, actually. Which was a surprise. He actually messaged me when I put a post up about the album Still Sucks.
Sweet. That's awesome.
So I suppose they were just going through because I tagged him in it and that, and he actually messaged me about that, just sort of saying thanks and that. But I thought, well, interesting. But good. I'm glad they're still here, and I think that EP is just that album's just a taster of something else. I think they have got.
It is kind of an EP. Right? There's a lot of there's a lot of unfinished stuff on there, I think, but it's still it's like a prelude, you know.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool. But
there's another album coming with skits and everything. I'm sure of it. Yeah,
that's awesome. So for 12 for Korn, I had to take a look in the mirror. I don't know.
Okay.
It sounded like a demo to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there was a couple of bangers on it, but at the time I was like, Jesus, you could at least afford better production than this. You know, oh God, I hope nobody from Korn hears this. But no, I remember at the time I was just like I couldn't get past how bad it sounded.
Right. Okay.
Compared to say Issues or, you know, Follow the Leader, you know, like that was that for me. But which leads me on to like 11. I put Untouchables there as well, because that doesn't sound like $5 million to me.
No, I mean, I still remember the day it came out. It was during my GCSEs, and I had a science and maths, which are arguably two of the biggest GCSEs you can ever have and I didn't give a fuck because I wanted to go uptown and get Untouchables before, because Here to Stay had come out and I was playing that on repeat. Here to Stay again is possibly my number one of all time for Korn songs, possibly. So and yeah, I remember at the time, I think I was probably a bit more disappointed because I loved Thoughtless as well.
Yeah.
But over the years, I've come to appreciate the album more. But yeah, I don't think it was worth the budget that I guess that they put into it. Although saying that, again, through doing research for the book and that, a lot of the money was that part of that budget was actually more spent on like hotels and stuff like that.
I think they said they kept their staff on retainer, I think. Was a lot
exactly, yeah. So that's where a lot of the budget went. I think it's still a big sounding album, but yeah, today on my list it's quite high. But
what was your 11?
11 now, 11. I went with the Paradigm Shift.
Ooh, interesting.
Absolutely hyped that Head was back, of course. But they still had too much of that electronic influence on it, I think. I think Pray For Me and Love and Meth was cool tunes. Victimize was good.
Punishment Time.
And Hater was a brilliant, it was on the World Tour edition, the bonus track. I loved Hater, and obviously the message, sort of the anti-bullying message and everything. But yeah, I think just in terms of like the other songs, again, there was a little bit too much filler in there for me. So it was a steady return for Head, but I don't think they gave him enough of a chance to really bring back that guitar crunch.
But maybe he was a bit hesitant too. Like, I don't want to just come in and just, I'm here, and
possibly.
It seemed that Jonathan wasn't in there as much because he was going through some stuff at the time,
Yeah.
But the documentary is awesome. That's with it.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever watched it, to be honest. I know there's so many bands that do documentaries. A few weeks ago, I only just watched the Stain documentary they did for that self-titled album in 2011, which was ultimately the one that ruined. Obviously, John Wysocki, I'm friends with him from Stain, the drummer. He left the band during that purely, and that was a lot of the reason was because of that documentary. So yeah, sometimes, and of course with the releases as well. I mean, I remember buying the album I think I got it on vinyl, but that was to the point there where I wasn't really looking to see what versions of the CD was out. So I probably missed the fact that there was a documentary that came with it.
It's on YouTube.
Well, yeah, I can go back and have a look now.
Yeah, it's a reconciliation. So it's just, them meeting Head at the festival and then the lead up to him coming back and then them writing,
Yeah.
I love watching stuff like that, documentaries, and I wish bands would do more of that. They don't do it as much anymore. And I would have thought that during lockdown for the last couple of years, bands would reach into their archives and just put stuff up. Like Korn could have done who they now 4, 5, 6, and 7. They could have enough stuff, and say band DVDs, they're impossible to get these days. Unless you go to Discogs and pay like a stupid amount. So, I just think bands could have done that. I know Metallica every Monday put up a different concert from different eras, and that was cool. Yeah. So that would have been a really good time for a band to just do that,
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of music come out during that time. I was quite a fan of the live stream concerts. I thought some of them was pretty good. August Burns Red did a couple of amazing ones. And Bad Omens did obviously Korn did Monumental, but I remember Bad Omens did one which was amazing. You wouldn't have thought that was live. You would have thought that was studio recorded.
Oh, really?
That perfect. Yeah.
Nice.
There was quite a few. Yeah, Korn's Monumental, that was obviously visually spectacular as well.
I got the whole package. I got the pass, the t-shirt, and the poster. Yeah.
The only problem with those, I think the night it was sort of premiered live, I was at work. I know that, so I wouldn't have been. So I didn't buy it. Someone was able to download it and copy it and send it across. Yeah.
What was your number 10?
Right, 10. So 10, I've gone with Requiem.
Oh, me too. Hey.
I loved it. I love the whole flow of it, but because it was shorter, I think it was the sound of a band, I think, writing an album in lockdown.
Yeah.
Disconnects again is one of my ultimate, straight in with one of my favorite Korn songs. And Let the Dark Do the Rest was also really good. But yeah, I think it was probably the first Korn album that sort of each song was more of just a standalone. It was just a little bit.
That song Penance to Sorrow, I think, was my favorite one. I just fucking loved it. It was the first one that I pressed rewind and rewind and rewind over and over. But to me, I don't know, the album, it feels like they're writing an album and they don't really want to, you know. They're like, well, I suppose to do this, you know, and where they'd rather be on touring
possibly,
nothing, which is like really high up on the list for me. But
yeah,
you know,
I think at least obviously at least Fieldy got to do that album as well before he took his break. So I think he will come back at some point, whether it will just be for albums as well. But it was still a strong release, definitely.
It is, yeah. Like a few of my friends were complaining that there's nothing like Korn in it. You know, I know I saw an interview with Monkey where he was told, the producer was like, nope, that sounds like this album, don't do that. And so like it's a whole selling point of them not doing typical Korn, but they might have done that a bit too much. I think, you know, there's some traits that you need to keep in there. But I don't know if
I felt there was little bits of elements of Untouchables in there and possibly Issues. But no, it was still a solid release.
Yeah. It's the second album in a row where Jonathan, I didn't feel he dialed it in. We're skipping ahead to the Nothing, but that was the first time I heard him do something without, you know, feeling like he dialed it in a bit. You know, Serenity. I felt like he dialed in Serenity. You know, he was kind of on autopilot there. You know, so that was my take on it. But which is funny. Serenity is number 9 on my list.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's a bit higher for me again.
It's a cool album. It's heavy, but it just, I don't know. The music was cool, but Jonathan didn't quite fit into it, I think, for me.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, there was a part where he's just screaming, "There's nothing inside my head," over and over, and I was like, "Oh, dude, you know, you could do better than that. You know it. Like, come on."
Yeah.
Yeah. But when Insane kicks in, it's like, fuck, you know. And like when they play that live, people go nuts. Yeah. So I'm not saying there's a shortage of bangers on that album, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it was. So I don't know. I've done a few of these kind of ranking albums, and if that's a bit higher up on mine, I don't know whether you talk about it now. We might as well talk about it now. I mean, Rotting in Vain again is the peak song of that album. Every album has one amazing song. Oildale, as we said, with Korn 3, and that. When that first came out, so I think that was the lead single. I think that came out just before Insane, and I just thought, wow, that is back to form.
Yeah, and that middle part, yeah, I had it up full blast from my surround sound, and I was just like, fuck, yes,
yeah.
You know, when you get
that's
excited.
That's definitely a top 3 Korn song for me.
Yeah.
If not Fighting, Here to Stay for the number 1.
Yeah. What was number 9 for you?
Number 9, I went with See You on the Other Side, because we are getting to the point now where all these albums I love.
Yeah,
and it's
harder to write.
So I even love that one. I still remember the date, because that was when albums still came out on Mondays when that came out, and I remember being in my local Woolworths, and someone I knew worked behind the tills. And he was showing me the CD on the Sunday, and I was begging him to let me have it a day early. And I nearly sort of twisted his arm until one of the branch managers come along, and I remember I've got to wait another day. But obviously that was the first album without Head in the band. I think Monkey did a decent job.
He did a great job.
Just Twisted Transistor was a cool tune. Politics and I Love for No One. Yeah. But it's actually the bonus songs that make that album even better for me. I mean, there were 7 bonus tracks.
That was a good one.
7 bonus tracks. Yeah. It's Me Again and Eaten Up Inside were my 2 favourites.
They're really good.
The Le Petit Moore, Last Legal Drug, that was a real sort of trip-hop kind of,
And I didn't think they still did that, you know.
So I think effectively, was getting like 22 songs on that album if you go and look through all the B-sides as well.
I had that special 2-disc edition.
Yeah. So that was my number 9.
Yeah. Number 8, I've had Untitled at my number 8, but you had that lower. What was your number 8 there?
Number 8, I went with the Nothing. Again, that was, I think I mentioned to you earlier, that was sort of the start of the Korn bit, where the 3 singles they released before it came out, it really didn't catch on with me.
Really, Even Cold?
No, not at the time, not on their own. No, I was just, but when I actually got the album and listened to it in sequence together, that's when it really clicked for me. In terms of my favourites on there was the Ringmaster and Finally Free. I think the Ringmaster is just a proper bruising,
it is,
here to stay anthem, and Finally Free was that more reflective sort of ballad kind of, the verses. And again, I know you mentioned obviously about JD's vocals and everything he was going through at that time. It was genuine. He was sort of laying himself bare and everything. But yeah, I thought it was a solid album, and continuing a revival, I guess, if you say that with Korn.
I mean, the first time I heard Cold, like, I actually had to check, because it was a YouTube video. I had to check and see if it actually was Korn. Like, you rarely hear Jonathan go that heavy in songs, really. And I was like, okay, that's not Korn, And then the chorus came along. You're like, oh, there they are. Oh, thank God, Like, there's not that many songs where he goes that brutal. I mean, there's one song on Take a Look in the Mirror where he goes really heavy. What's that one called? Oh shit, brain fart.
He did. I mean, he's done. I mean, there was Breaks Them Off, weren't there, with some real deep gutturals.
Yeah, that's where it Breaks Them Off. There was Killing on Untitled towards the end. That's big. It's funny, if you watch the making of that album, he's doing it wearing a Cannibal Corpse t-shirt.
All right, okay.
And he does like
definitely a thinner neck though compared to a Corpse Grinder.
I know, and he does like an impression before he goes track. He's like, the song is called "I Got Blood." And you're like, that's hilarious. Jonathan Davis doing that. It just seems like when he does that stuff, it seems like he's having fun doing it. It's only when he's in good.
Yeah.
When he's in good form, he does the really heavy stuff, which is funny.
Yeah.
But like,
he's definitely a good vocalist and diverse as well.
Yeah, he's awesome. But like, it's so cool that he still finds ways to, he's not doing the same thing over and over. A lot of singers do. They have this little rut that they like to stay in, and every now and again, like, Jonathan still finds ways to surprise you, which is really cool. And that was the best thing about the Nothing. It was like, I couldn't believe each song was just packed full of stuff from him. He just
definitely,
awesome.
Because I think one of the later tracks of Requiem had one of his proper scats as well, didn't it? Like real, like as if it was 1999 all over again.
I love. We're just like, bring out the bagpipes, please. Come on, it's been so long. I think for number 7 I had See You on the Other Side, so it wasn't too much of a change there.
7 I went with Take a Look in the Mirror, purely because I think I find obviously there was a lot of songs I enjoyed on that. They were more simple. I did enjoy the return to the real raw heaviness. I understand what you were saying about the production and everything, but I think that's what they were going for at the time. I know, I'm pretty sure it was Head that's come out and said that's his least favorite album they did. But I love the track with Nas, the Play Me.
That's a really good one.
Still bringing in like a hip hop vibe there. They revived the 93 demo of Alive. So that was on the Nader Mayer's mind. They give that a new, and Counting on Me was very much in the style of Thoughtless, I felt, in terms of the verse, chorus, verse, double chorus. And there was a couple of decent singles on there. Right Now, I think, was one of the first ones where you really got to hear Jonathan's heavier, deathly sort of style vocals, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah, it's like it's kind of the closing of that era of Korn as well. Like, none of us would have foreseen what happened next.
That's it.
It's like, Head's gone. What? Really? And
crazy.
Like, the way I see it, I think Dave left at that time as well. I mean, like, his drums on See You on the Other Side, there wasn't anything spectacular about that. And
no.
From what I hear is that he was just brought in to do what was programmed. Okay, copy this. And, that's what I heard about it. So it feels like the two of them left at the same time,
Yeah, I think like obviously stuff I've done for the book, sometimes you can only sort of you take it with a pinch of salt, but it seems that he took a break just to be with his family and stuff, and it kind of went on a bit too long, and in the end they kind of just sort of said, well, we're good without you, really, even though it took them and obviously on Untitled they used I think they used 3 drummers, didn't they? They used I don't really want to open my book and have a look.
Oh no,
Brooks Wackerman was one of the drummers.
Terry Bozzio was the other.
Terry Bozzio, but he was the one that wanted the gig full time, wasn't he? And I think his demands were a bit too much. So that's why they basically got him gone. And I think that's pretty much why Joey then did the download and the European tour for them.
But it would have,
and then obviously Ray.
Yeah, it was all like it would have been easier for just Joey to do. I wonder would Joey have joined full time?
I don't know. I don't know if it was ever discussed, because I know he was doing a good run and he basically left because it was time to then do. I think that would have been the Slipknot album with Snuff on it.
All Hope Is Gone.
Yeah, I think that's when he left then to go back to that.
Yeah, I know. I remember seeing, like, you can see it on YouTube. There's a Rock Amering that year. Joey's just so wired playing. You can see the band struggling to keep up sometimes. Like Monkey's like focused, like keeping up with them is so funny. And I remember when they played Blind, he put blast beats in at the end of it, and I was just, oh my god, it was so awesome. But
he's definitely he was a one of a kind drummer.
Yeah, I don't think that was Korn's bag though, being proper like metal heavy, with the, I don't want to say cliches, but he was putting a load of double kicks in there. That wasn't really their thing, I think. So.
No, I think I remember it took me a while to sort of get used to a live Korn with Ray in it as well, because there was, especially live, it was such a different sound to the drums as well.
It is,
but over the years I've come to, I still think obviously the original era of Korn is the peak Korn, but I think he's filled a very impossible void, but pretty well, to the best he can.
Yeah, he seems like a cool guy,
Definitely, yeah.
He's just probably living the best life. He's like, corner in front of me while I'm playing,
Yeah.
That would be any of us, Here's one for number 6. I put down Issues.
Okay.
It was for me, it was the first time I found myself skipping tracks. There was a lot of filler,
Yeah.
I just felt like a lot of it wasn't complete, or they didn't have enough spend enough time on the songs, I think.
There was a lot of skits in there, wasn't there?
Yeah,
was 4 or 5, I think, at least. I think it worked out there was only 9 full tracks. But then in terms of, I mean, that was only 14, 15 months after Follow the Leader came out.
Yeah, it was really soon.
Demanded, they went straight back in.
Yeah.
Possibly it was the best they could do then.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm going to be very controversial with my 6, because my number 6 is the debut album.
That is fascinating.
Yeah. It was the second album I heard of Korn, because, like I said, Follow the Leader was the first one I heard.
Yeah.
And then I think I would have gone to a local HMV or whatever to pick up another Korn album, and that was the only one they had. So I got it. So at that time, I probably wasn't aware that was 1994. It was the first album. So at the time, I was like, "What? This can't be the same band." I went the other way. I went from the major production and the big budgets to the raw, and but I mean, I love Helmet in the Bush. Is probably one of my picks from that album. I still love. I think Blind. I like Blind, but I think because of how much it's been played over the years.
I find myself skipping that song a lot. If it comes on a shuffle or whatever. But like my favorite is Ball Tongue. That's like my favorite song of all time. And most of the time they don't play it. I've seen them 10 times.
They did it Monumental, didn't they? Did it on that set, which was
but I wasn't there in person to witness it. I've seen them 10 times, and I think they've only played it once when I saw them. So I'm like,
right, okay, yeah. But I mean, I do like the album, but I mean, Shoots and Ladders, I thought that was quite genius, really, for what it was, and how they put a nightmarish spin on nursery rhymes.
Yeah, and like the middle of it has like one of the heaviest riffs of all time for me. You know, the very little like that's like, I get goosebumps every time I hear it. It's just the most evil sounding riff I've ever heard in my life. You know, it's just, that's what evil sounds like right there. You know, but no, I get that.
And I was I'll say there was.
Go on.
I'll say there was very clever in what nursery rhymes they chose as well, because it was the nursery rhymes which actually have negative meanings and darker meanings, don't they? Rather than just what you might sing to your child and you think it's a nice little nursery rhyme, but they actually picked the real ones with the not so nice meanings behind them.
You can only imagine they were sitting in the room. It's like, dude, if you think about this nursery rhyme, it's actually really fucked up. No, you know, and they all agree on it. But no, I get what you mean about, say you get into a band on like their later albums, and then when you go back, it's not as they're not as polished production wise and songwriting wise. So I get why, you wouldn't be into it as much as say the newer ones.
Yeah,
but you get a pass. You
get thank you.
No problem, dude. I had Paradigm Shift at 5. I just I think I was so disgusted with Path of Totality that when Paradigm Shift came out and Head coming back, I think maybe I'm being a bit too sentimental with it, you know, because I was just, and I had it on for like ages, over and over and over. I mean, I think my pick off that is Punishment Time, and like on the documentary, you see them writing it, and you see them all in the room, and like Head's daughter is there in the room, she's watching them write it, and it's just like, you're like, she's watching magic happen, you know.
Yeah.
And like the band, you know, Ray's in there as well. Like, this is awesome, you know, and it's a good vibe when they're doing it, you know.
Yeah, that's probably one of my least listened to albums of them. So I'll perhaps have to go back and give it another listen at some point. I think I'm not sure if it was that, or was it the Serenity that had the Die Another Day B-side as well, because that was a good B-side.
Yeah,
I think it was that one. That was
was.
So it's actually two really good B-sides there that I was surprised didn't make the cut compared to perhaps some of the other songs, because there was one on there that was written during the Path of Totality as well. I think it was Lullaby for a Sadist.
Yeah, it was.
Which felt a bit too out of place on that album as well. But,
yeah, it was. I know. What did you say? Your 5? Your number 5?
5. I went for Serenity of Suffering. I think there's a little bit of extra favoritism for this album because at the time I was writing for a music magazine over here, and I got to interview Head for it during that whole promo thing.
Yeah.
So I got to actually, it was only on the phone, but I got to speak to Head for 45 minutes. So it was nice because we was, as well as talking about that album, we was actually talking about writing, and because he'd done his books as well at the time. But yeah, with Writing in Vain as well, when that came out, as we mentioned a little while ago, that was just an amazing return song. The main disappointment on that album, I thought, considering how much they bigged it up, I thought the Corey Taylor collaboration was pretty wasted.
He was he seemed really out of place on that song, you know.
It was out of place, and I mean, he had sort of 30 seconds, didn't he? And that was all he had on the song. Because they was really big in that song up before anybody heard it, and I just thought, is that it? This could have been so much better.
Yeah, it's a bit of an anticlimax, you know.
But that was the one where they kind of stepped back with the electronics as much, or you know, they were less. But yeah, Writing in Vain just makes that album for me. When You're Not There as well, that was a good track.
It's a huge guitar album. I mean, the guitars in that sound fucking thick. You know, they're huge. You know, I love that tone.
So,
I had the Nutting at number 4. So again, I was like, they're getting better with each album. You know? So it was good.
Again, with the In Sequence, it was listen to it as a whole. It's an emotional but good story.
It didn't seem like there was any like B-sides or anything extra.
No, I think that was all there was for that one. That was what you heard, was what we got for that. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Well, interesting, you know.
I went with Untouchables for number 4. As I said before, it was a bit of a slow burner for me, so over the years I've gone back to it, but Here to Stay probably is just about my number 1 Korn song, just ahead of of Writing in Vain, I'd imagine. But yeah, Untouchables. Yeah, it was at that period as well, I think, because in terms of trying to think back of Korn albums, that was the first Korn album that came out when I was a fan. So Issues had already been out when I first sort of got into them. So it was the first album of Korn that I actually had to wait for and
the anticipation,
get excited about.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It was the highlight for me after that was Blame. I love that song.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I've got Blame on my list here. That was crunching. Absolutely crunching.
It's really cool. Yeah. For my number 3, I had Life is Peachy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna give it away. It's going 3, 2, 1 here for me for the end.
Yeah.
So yeah. Life is Peachy. It's unfinished, again, they only had a short amount of time to go in and do an album and go back out, and you could just tell a lot of it, like, there's like Condon Acid and all that. Those songs are like, okay, man, seriously. Like it sounds like they're having it does sound like they're having a good time making the album, but at the same time, it's like you could have taken it a bit seriously,
Yeah, I think they was on the back of copious amounts of touring, drugs, drink, excess, probably pressure to build on the back of the first album. And there was something, that song, well, they called it Cunts, didn't they? With all the different swearing. That was just like, what are you doing? There's some brilliant stuff. Mr. Rogers, I love Mr. Rogers. I thought that was that was the next elevation for Korn, I think, on that song. There was a lot of Good God and, Adidas and No Place to Hide. But Mr. Rogers was that one, I think, that really showed that they were still able to go on further.
Yeah, I know. Like, Head even said it himself that they didn't put as much effort into it. And he himself said that he didn't go there half the time. He was like, he was homesick while they were writing Adidas. Like,
Yeah, I think that's they was like the epitome of what most bands were around that time. I guess they probably a little bit entitled. They got a record deal. They wasn't quite as big then as obviously when they to 3 years later or 2 years later, but they probably thought they was a bigger deal than they was, and they was like, we can do what we want, and but still, that's Issues was my number 3. So if anybody is listening thinking he hasn't mentioned Life is Peachy yet, that's still to come. But I went with Issues at number 3. It was a toss up between 2 and 3, so that's what I went with.
Follow the Leader was my number 2. It's fucking great. It was the first time I heard Korn with proper production with a proper shine on it, and it just nearly every song anyway. There was a couple that maybe haven't aged as well for them, but seriously, it was banger after banger, and it was just production it still sounds great, still sounds amazing.
I think All in the Family is the one track that I can skip now. That is another one which I think JD recently came out and said that's the song he hates the most, isn't it? The Korn have ever done. But everything except that, I mean, it was weird that it started on track 13, the actual album on the CD. It's On is just a brilliant opener. And Justin was my favorite on that album as well.
When I discovered later on in life was Seed. Actually, I thought the first. Oh God, I hope I don't get flack for it. For the first, say, 30 seconds, I thought that was an interlude, so I just skipped it, not realizing there was a whole song kicking in.
Oh, right, okay.
And not realizing that it's one of the best songs they've ever written, and they didn't play it on the Follow the Leader anniversary, which I thought was strange. Because it's like all of the riffs on it are just, again, so heavy. Oh my God. They're so simple but so heavy, and it's a great song. That would have been my favorite off that album. It's just banger after banger.
Exactly. I mean, obviously the first 3 tracks. First, obviously, It's On, and you went into Freak on a Leash. So Freak on a Leash and Got the Life were the two, big. Everybody knows those. But I mean, Pretty. That was a really very dark, obviously based on JD's experiences of working in a morgue. Justin was the one about the fan that was terminally ill. Seed, like you said, there was some excellent stuff on there.
BBK, love that one. It's
yeah,
I don't think I've seen them play that live, but I can imagine if they did, it's just a sea of people bouncing, you know.
Yeah, I think I've only seen Korn 6 times, but I can't remember. I can never remember the set list. I always have to use setlist.com to actually go up and see if somebody's put them on there. I seem to think, I know. I'm not going to say they have. I have heard it. I really can't remember. I know I saw them at Brixton on the last tour before Head left, and there were some unusual choices of songs on that tour. But yeah, the rest of them I really can't remember without looking through.
That's mad. Like, yeah, I think number one is just a self-titled for me because it's one of those life-changing ones.
Yeah.
But like, I heard that first, so that was it. Well, it was the first album I took in. I mean, I said I heard Sean Olsen first, and then I asked a friend of mine if he had any Korn albums because he was a bigger metalhead than me, and he just gave me the first album. And I just, in my room, just listening on the headphones, because if I listened to half of that out loud, my parents would be like, especially if I listened to Daddy out really loud, And again, it was for me, it was the first time I heard a band be heavy, but not like typical metal heavy, It was like heavy in a different way. I'd never heard anything like that, to be honest. And it seemed like they were a band that played heavy music but didn't really listen to a lot of it.
No,
that's the impression I got just from listening to them.
So, that's the way. Yeah, I mean, it's especially in 1994, you could never hear a band as heavy as that, but had such a hip hop vibe to the drums and the rhythm, wasn't it? So that was something that was completely different, and it did seem to work well. So that's it was where it all began. I don't think they ever thought come 1994 when that came out quite what they would begin, what they would start. But I mean, obviously I had that at number 6, but I still appreciate the legacy it's created and everything else is done for it. So, and as I mentioned, I think I hinted anyway, Follow the Leader is my number 1 purely because of it being the first heavy album that I ever heard. I think I mentioned it, but Life is Peachy was my number 2. That's another one that I didn't used to really like, but over the years, number 2. But Follow the Leader, that would always be my not just favorite Korn album, probably my favorite album of all time. Very close second is The Real Thing by Faith No More. That's a very close second of all time, and White Pony is probably the third of all time. But for this, Follow the Leader, definitely.
Nice. This was actually a lot of fun to do that. We'll have to come back and do like a Deftones list or something,
that would be interesting as well. I did do one in America on an American sort of YouTube page. Cool. Did we do the whole lot? I think we did do the whole lot, and I got a lot of hate for certain choices of how low some of them were down and everything like that. But no.
What did you think of the last album?
I thought it was really good. I remember listening to it at the time because I think I wasn't a fan of Gore. There was about 3 really good songs on Gore. But When Arms Come Back and When You Ran To You came on, the third track, that is just awesome. I think Adrenaline was quite low down my list, to be honest. I think
I'd say you got a lot of hate for that.
Yeah, probably. But no, in terms of Deftones, they're just geniuses. They're just
They were supposed to play here last year, but because of COVID and everything, they shut everything down. But they couldn't get another date because every other date in the venue was rescheduled. So they're like, well, by the time we get a date here, we'll be doing our next album cycle. So I had tickets for it and everything, and I was like, fucking bastards.
Well, they need a new bassist now, don't they, as well? Because Sergio's left, so that seemed a bit strange. They never really, from what he said, they never offered him an actual full-time contract, even though he's been in the band for 13 years or something like that.
It's a similar situation with Mark Rizzo. Soulfly, As soon as COVID hit, see you, buddy. It's like, you're not going to be. That's kind of mean. After 19 years? It's crazy, really. Some friendships and working relationships can just be cut off just like that. Well, like Dave Shavari's like, come back, my boy,
Well, they needed him because El Nino's kind of Yeah. They're still trying to go along, but they're another band that's kind of, I mean, and that's another album, Revolution. That should have probably been in my 5 as well, or a special 6, because that's an amazing album, which has been repressed on vinyl as well, which love that album. I remember buying that the day it come out.
Like, if you think about it, the original lineup of El Nino is back together, but with a different singer. If you think of it that way, that's funny.
Pretty much, yeah. And then you've got Lines at the Gate, haven't you, with Christian? And there was, I can't remember obviously I know Aru's in the band, but there was another guy from the El Nino lineup as well. But
so
not my thing as much, that one.
Yeah, it's a bit too,
Christian's vocals have kind of gone down after all these years of screaming and everything. I think they don't sound as strong as they used to.
No, I hope he doesn't hear this. Sorry, dude.
Sorry.
But now before we wind things up, like, who would be like, do you listen to, say, newer new metal bands? Like, do you keep an eye out for the new ones? Like, and who would be bands to look out for at the moment?
I mean, I'll always plug them. My boys in Front Street from Holland, from the Netherlands. They have one full-length album out called Reality Check, which came out in 2017 now. But if you go on Spotify, their newest songs, they did one called Slow Burn, which is just brilliant. That's my favorite track they've ever done. So they're heavily influenced by Linkin Park, but with sort of so the rap vocals, but you've got a few more screams in there as well. And another one on in America, Head Trip Trauma. They're more sort of groove based metal. They're just going through a couple of lineup changes at the minute, so I think they're going to introduce some new elements into their sound as well. But I briefly had a sort of an independent record label called TNZ Records, and I got their CDs pressed because I wanted to set it up basically because of, so I know that newer bands, they have smaller budgets, and I know what it's like to, you have your physical product in your hand, and some bands can't even afford that. So I set up TNZ Records to, offer to pay out of my own pocket to have some CDs pressed and that. But unfortunately, the record label was only about 2 months old when I then got my book publishing deal. So the books had to come first.
That makes sense.
And then I got busy with that, and I bought a house and everything else. But Head Trip Trauma Side Effects, that's an album worth checking out as well.
That's awesome. Who put out a really good album lately is Death Blooms from England. They're really good.
Yes, I've got it on vinyl. Yeah.
Holy shit, they are awesome.
They're and the new stuff as well, because he's introduced a few more cleans as well, which I like.
I saw them at Download 2018, I think. I was doing the RIP campaign because I'm weak. I just don't have it in me to do gen pop anymore. So they were playing the RIP area. It was really cool, and I got to talk to the guitarist for a minute using Mesa Boogie. So that had to happen. That conversation. It was really cool actually. It was like a 3-band lineup back there. It was like Death Blooms opened, then Dream State, and then Dead ED. So it was like those 3 bands for like about 100, 200 people maybe. And it was awesome. So
because when I saw Dead in, they played the Black Heart, I think it was, in Camden, and Death Bloom supported them there. So I speak to Paul, the singer, fairly regularly, and that's another band that since the last time I did something for them, they've changed the members, so it's just Paul and some new members, but Paul pretty much wrote the new album. But that's a really cool album, and finally got that on vinyl last month. I think they had some problems with the pressing side of things. And,
if they can swing it, I think they do really well over here. Because they're the kind of band that, like, they'd be accessible enough to hear if you didn't know their songs. They come out and they're just straight up groove, so people get it straight away. That's kind of hard.
I know that Death Blooms are touring a lot. Well, they have been touring a lot the last couple of months because they're from Liverpool, aren't they? So but they've been playing all over the country. And from what I've seen, most of the shows is getting sold out. So perhaps belatedly, but they're finally getting their name out there.
Yeah, well, they were the first band on the Download kind of relaunch thing. So literally, they would have been the first live band that a lot of people have seen in a while.
Good way to start.
So people are hungry for it, So that's
definitely,
cool. So before we go, do you have any links you want to share for us if anyone wants the book or anything?
The books are available on Amazon. So if you're from the UK, Amazon UK or Amazon America. So yeah, the Korn and the Nu Metal books on there. The tour book comes out at the end of July. There is the pre-order available on Amazon at the minute. They're the best places to get them from. Alternatively, you can get it from Waterstone and WH Smith's. In America is Walmart and Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're the best places if you want to pick up a copy.
Awesome.
And I've got a mortgage now, so if you want to help me pay for a little bit, then pick up a copy.
I know those feels, man. I'm the same. Yeah, we bought a house in the middle of nowhere. I never
with an okay-ish internet connection.
Like, I don't mind them building a big tower in the field beside me. You know, I don't care how many birds fall out of the sky. I want my Zoom calls to work perfectly and my Netflix to be unpixelated. Yeah, but
maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Anyway, cheers for this, dude. We shall talk to you soon.
Yeah. Okay, man. Take care.